Madam President, I'd like to rise and speak to the infrastructure bill that is before us, and specifically about a component of the infrastructure bill. My colleague earlier, Senator Tuberville from Alabama, said when he goes home, he speaks to people in his state, he always gets a consistent message. I too get that consistent message. Better jobs, greater safety for their family, and a better future for our country. And this infrastructure package addresses those concerns. Now, the infrastructure package, it is about roads and bridges and highways, ports and waterways, increased access to broadband in areas that don't have it now, flood mitigation, coastal restoration. These are things that will contribute to better jobs, more safety, and a better future for our country. But first, let me dispel some myths. There's some misconceptions out there about this bill. One misconception is that it's somehow the same as the $3.5 trillion bill that people have heard about that Democrats have proposed, increasing taxes to a record basis and increasing our national debt when obviously we are pushing up on the debt limit. This is not that bill. This bill is about roads and bridges and broadband and flood protection. That bill is about everything else. This bill is about improving the quality of life for our families, improving the future for our country. That bill is about a sugar high on an economy which is already in an inflationary mode. These are two different bills. So I'm speaking about the one that has 86% approval in two separate polls by the American citizens. The other concern is that this will contribute to inflation. Again, that's confusing it with the confusing it with the $3.5 trillion wish list my Democratic colleagues have. No, the bill that we're proposing, with $550 billion in new spending over 5 years for roads and bridges and highways, is judged to not be inflationary, to actually improve our economy over time. And lastly, that somehow that this infrastructure bill that we have proposed is somehow Republicans playing along with Democrats in a way which is bad for our country. Let me point out that President Trump proposed a $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill. We've put up $550 billion in new spending. He proposed $1.5 trillion. Only 5% of his was paid for, whereas ours is paid for. And so, Madam President, to make the point, this is something that Republicans have proposed in the past, that Democrats have proposed in the past. In this version, it is something which Democrats and Republicans can support. It is paid for, and it does help the American people. How does it help the American people? It gives them better jobs, increases the safety of their family, and gives a better future for our country. Let me give some ideas about how that could occur. There's $110 billion for roads, bridges, and highways, not just to repair some, to construct some others, but also for the safety of those that are being rebuilt or being built. $110 billion. Now, we speak about jobs and safety and a better future. Clearly, we talked about safety. Think about the jobs that will be created by this construction of these highways. Think about the better future, because these roads and bridges will last for decades. And some person who's now a child will drive over a bridge as an adult, and her life will be better because of the highway that this money paid for. There's $10 billion for ports and waterways. Those liquid highways that take our goods from our country around the world and bring those goods from around the world back to our country. Along the way, creating jobs for hundreds of thousands of Americans. By the way, transporting products by water is the most environmentally sound way to transport goods. This investment in our ports and waterways, again, creating jobs, increasing the safety, also gives us a better future for our economy, a better future for our workers, a better future for our families, a better future for our country. There's $16 billion for the Army Corps of Engineers. for, among other things, to address coastal erosion, which is occurring nationwide. My state has lost more land mass than any other state in the nation. My state has lost as much land as is in the entire state of Delaware. But other states are losing land too. I saw a picture recently of the Gold Coast, that very swank area in the city of Chicago on Lake Michigan. And it showed how the coastline had eroded over time, and now waves from Lake Michigan are lapping up onto the road in front of these very expensive apartment complexes. This is not on the Atlantic, the Pacific, or the Gulf of Mexico. This is on a Great Lake. I saw another picture of the beach off of North Carolina, which in the last 150 years has receded, I think it's 500 feet. And so homes that formerly had a distant view of the water now have waves coming up to their lawn. That is happening nationwide. No place more than in my state in Louisiana. This bill makes a significant investment in coastal erosion and protecting those people who live on the coastlines. It will create jobs as this is addressed. It will increase the safety of those folks that live in such areas. It gives a better future for our country. There's $65 billion for broadband, prioritizing those places without service and those places with poor service. I think of a place in my state, for example, Opelousas, Louisiana, small town on I-49. Think of a parent there that wants her daughter to be able to study Mandarin Chinese. There might be people there who speak Chinese, Mandarin, but they are not the people teaching school. If she has broadband internet, she gets the same educational experience as someone who lives in New Orleans or Baton Rouge or Shreveport. We need to give every child in this country the same access to that educational opportunity. Madam President, I'm a doctor, most people know that. I also think of the expansion of telehealth and telemental health. Right now, our country has a shortage of adolescent psychiatrists. If we have rural broadband, our broadband into areas of our cities which are currently poorly served, the adolescent psychiatrist can be in her office in Lafayette, Louisiana, doing a visit, an interview with a child who lives in DeRidder, a place that won't have a pediatric or adolescent psychiatrist, has access to real-time visits because of the money that is in this bill. Economic development, I once spoke to somebody who was thinking of setting up a distribution center in North Louisiana in a place ideally situated to get all the towns around, but did not have broadband internet. With this bill, that economic development project takes root because now that investor has the ability to manage inventory, to receive orders, and to communicate with drivers, all because rural broadband has been made a reality, creating jobs, increasing safety, giving that community in our country a better future. Let me just mention one more thing in kind of the economic aspect and safety aspect of this. There is money for sewer, water, and for drainage. Now, if I think of the four corners of my state, but I'm sure every person could think of the four corners of their state, and I think of Hawaii as being a round state, so I'm not sure how you would think of those four corners. But if I think of New Orleans and Shreveport, Monroe and Lake Charles, and all points in between, there is a pent-up demand to address water and sewer and drainage. This bill puts the money out there, which can be combined with other appropriations, which can meet the needs for those folks in my community. I also want to emphasize some of the environmental aspects of this bill. We have billions being put forward to Superfund and brownfield sites. Now, Louisiana has 27 priority sites of those nationwide requiring funding for the Superfund or brownfield. We also have $4.75 billion to cap abandoned oil wells. That will improve conditions in Louisiana, but across the nation. It also includes a bill I wrote with Senator Coons of Delaware called the SCALE Act. The SCALE Act helps build this carbon dioxide pipeline that will take CO2 from these manufacturing plants that are producing a product but emit CO2, and it will build pipelines to sequester that carbon dioxide beneath the ground or to allow that CO2 to be used in another product line. Putting to work pipe fitters, decreasing the carbon intensity of our environment, and giving a better future for our planet. Jobs, safety, and a better future. And I've already mentioned the $16 billion going to the Army Corps of Engineers for coastal restoration and other projects. This bill is an example of what Congress should do. It is focused upon jobs and safety and a better quality of life. This is good for the American worker. It is good for American families. It is good for the United States of America. And with that, Madam President, I yield.